Welcome back to another day of the vlog here. Thought I'd switch things up a little bit today and do a little bit of a shoe review for you, a little compare and contrast on a new model of shoes that just came out just recently here. It's quite interesting because I've seen a number of comparisons and stuff online of various videos and stuff like that, and I don't really agree with them at all. Because I've used the ones that they're comparing to, and I'm like, I don't think so. It's nothing like that. It's more like this or that. So maybe it will be interesting as in these times, I'm guessing that people are going to be, in terms of triathlon, more of a focus on bike and run. And yeah, maybe give you a new shoe to think about for your daily or weekly rotation, I should say. So the shoe that we're going to be talking about today is the New Balance FuelCell TC. Now, before I say anything about any of these shoes, I'll just let you know that I'm not sponsored by any shoe companies, and the running stores that I've purchased them from don't give me any discount or anything for reviews or anything like that. So this is going to be a pretty genuine review. I'm going to tell you what I like and tell you what I dislike about them, and that's not being influenced by anything, seeing as I was the one who bought it. Having said that, the New Balance FuelCell TC, it came out just recently. Started probably in the US, came out much earlier, but here in Canada at least it came out April 1st. And it was in very limited quantities. But anyways, why this shoe is one of interest is that it has the FuelCell midsole, which has been on previous shoes of theirs, but then it also has the addition now of a carbon plate that's sandwiched between that midsole. So with that being said, I thought it'd be interesting to give you a little contrast between that and the Nike 4%, which also obviously has that carbon plate. So this shoe I've put in about, I think about 60 miles in it now, and I've done a number of different runs on it. And so let me just say that New Balance has marketed this shoe as TC, meaning training and competition. So they're playing this shoe up as one that can be used for your daily training, but is also fast enough to be used as a racing shoe. Being more a training shoe, you can definitely, let me say, you can definitely feel that just in the weight of the shoe. This is an 8.5, and this shoe weighed in at 253 grams on my scale, which is about 9 ounces. It's like 8.95 ounces. So that's quite heavy. If you compare that to other shoes, it's actually not that far off like a Nike Pegasus. So in terms of the competition aspect of things, you really got to think about, well, what type of a competition? Because in terms of like a 5K, for example, I probably wouldn't use that. Whereas if I'm comparing that with the Nike 4%, the Nike 4% for me size 8, so it is half a size smaller, weighed in though at 6.3 ounces. So that's a significant difference. Having said that, it feels lighter than what it is, and I think that's because of this FuelCell midsole. So that FuelCell midsole is what I really wanted to talk about. It's the closest thing that I felt so far to the Nike 4% with the Zoom X foam, in that it is, as soon as you put it on your foot, you can feel it is very bouncy, it's very springy. However, having said that, even though it does have a carbon plate in it, it doesn't have the same pop off the ground that the Nike 4% has. The Nike 4% to me feels 100 times faster than this shoe. What this shoe has been compared to online is the Nike Zoom Fly. The Nike Zoom Fly, so you know, has the same exact carbon sole that the 4% has, carbon plate, I should say, that the 4% has. However, the original model this is using, the newer model has been updated, but this original model is using a Lunarlon midsole. And let me tell you, with the Zoom Fly, and this is why, to me, I don't feel it's anything like the New Balance. The Zoom Fly is the stiffest shoe you're ever gonna put on. At least it's the stiffest shoe that I've worn that I can think of. If I was to compare it to something in terms of stiffness, I'd say like the Adidas Adios. It'd be very close to that. So to me, it doesn't feel anything like this New Balance, because the New Balance's FuelCell foam that they're using is extremely springy, or squishy, sorry, I should say. For me personally, and I don't want to get too much into the Zoom Fly's review, there were a lot of problems that I found with the Zoom Fly, in particular around the heel. This thing dug into my Achilles on every single run, and I was bleeding numerous times after runs. And it's just hard to see where this shoe fits in, because it is a little bit clunky, so I can't see it being used for like pure speed work. But then also it's so stiff that I can't actually see me enjoying it for long runs because of that. So, FuelCell versus 4%. The foams are almost identical feeling to one another. However, the 4% would smoke it, I think, in an outright race. The TC is, like I said, almost 3 ounces lighter. And to me, it doesn't feel like you get anywhere near the pop off the ground that you get with the 4%. Where I actually see the FuelCell comparing best to is the Pegasus Turbo. The Pegasus Turbo has that same Zoom X foam that the 4% has, but it doesn't have the carbon plate. And that's why I think it actually feels like the TC, because the TC has this FuelCell springy little bouncy foam to it, but to me, I honestly can't feel the pop of the carbon plate, which makes me say that it's very similar to this Pegasus Turbo. And actually the weights are a little bit more similar. The Turbo is almost 8 ounces in a size 8 at 7.8 ounces, 221 grams that I weighed it in at. So it's actually, the Turbo is lighter than this TC. However, to me, they feel very similar. If I just give a quick wrap up, exact same feel of the foam as the 4%, meaning it's very comfortable. However, not as fast as the 4%, because to me, I don't feel that carbon plate. To another carbon plated shoe where I've seen it compared to online is absolutely nothing like the Zoom Fly. The Zoom Fly is 100 times stiffer. Compared to the Turbo, it has a much nicer ride to it. And you really notice that on long runs. And that's where I see this shoe fitting in best into my lineup. It's an excellent shoe for slightly quicker long runs, because that FuelCell midsole is so cushiony, it's so comfortable that your legs do feel fresher later into the run. So I would say it's perfect for your long run that has maybe a little bit of tempo stuff into it. Long tempo runs I could see this being perfect for, and kind of actually just daily training. Just to give you like a wrap up of pros and cons. Pros, the foam is excellent. To me, it's extremely comfortable. The bottom of the shoe has a ton of rubber on it, and I really like that, and that's actually the reason I had got this shoe in the first place. The Alpha Fly isn't coming out until June apparently. It's coming out June 2nd. So I was kind of in between shoes. I wanted a new pair of shoes, and I was like, oh, I don't want to have to wait until the Alpha Fly, but then again, I don't want to buy the next percent and then have the Alpha Fly come out a month later. I want something to kind of bridge the gap, and with that, I want then something that maybe can last for daily training almost, or long runs and a lot of mileage. To me, this feels like it's gonna last a really long time. Pros, like I said, extremely comfortable. It does feel quick as a daily trainer. I don't know if it feels quick in relative to a racing flat, but if I was doing a quicker long run or a fast finish long run, I would absolutely have no issue deciding on this shoe. The looks, I love it. I absolutely love it. The upper is beautiful. Like it's almost see-through, and it's actually got like a iridescence to it. Like when it really catches the light, you can see some kind of like purple in the foam. Really nice looking shoe. Things I don't like on the shoe. Well, I obviously didn't like how it wasn't as springy as I hoped, because I heard that it had this carbon plate in it, and I can't really feel it. I can't really feel like there's a carbon plate. To me, it just feels like a really well cushioned shoe, and it's beautiful. Like when you start going down hills, that's where this thing really comes in, because you're like, wow, this is really nice. There's zero jarring nature to it. It's beautiful. Don't like, I hate tongue. Whoever came up with this tongue, they made all this, what I don't understand is they made like all this thick material here. I don't know if you can see it, but like the upper here around the heel is so thick and so cushioned, and yet then they put in this little tongue, which is honestly like the smallest little shred of material of all time. I don't know if you can see it. It's gonna be really tough to see, but it's a little tiny shred of material, and it actually, when you tie it down on the top, because it's so thin of a tongue, I actually find that wherever your knot is, you end up getting a nice little pressure point right there. And the tongue itself is really like difficult to adjust, because like as you're doing up the shoe, because it's so flimsy, the tongue is wanting to roll, and you have to really like undo the shoe and like straighten it out to make sure that there's no wrinkles in that tongue, because when you get a wrinkle in the tongue, that's when you're gonna have like a hot spot or some chafing. So to get to the last point, the pricing. If I'm going through the pricing on these shoes, the Vaporflies you can actually get on sale right now. However, the Vaporflies, when you're talking about cost, dollar per mile that you get out of it, it's ridiculous. Even if they're come down on sale, if the shoe only lasts for 150K, 200K, 150 miles, whatever, even if it's down to $200 on sale, that's still really, really expensive in terms of how much you're gonna get out of the shoe. This shoe, quite expensive. It was $260. By the time you get tax and shipping and stuff like that, I think it was around $300. But in terms of is it worth it, I would have to give you an update on that later. Because right now I'd say yes, it's worth it, because for me, in terms of a long run shoe, it's absolutely brilliant. In terms of a racer, not so much. So that's a little bit of a sour point, because I'm like, I kind of wanted to have this as an option for racing. So the reason I say that I'll have to get back to you on whether it's worth it or not is whether it actually lasts like 700 or 800 kilometers. And the reason is because, like I said, the Pegasus Turbo lasted, for me, I think it was 800 kilometers I got out of them. And it was $200, so it was about $100 cheaper than this guy. Can this shoe make it to 800 kilometers? Time will tell. If it does make it to 700-800 kilometers in that range, would I take it over the Turbo? I would. And the reason is because I do feel like it's a little bit quicker than the Turbo. And that's probably the carbon plate coming in. I mean, it's close. To me, what it would come down to is, in terms of recommending it to you, would I get the Pegasus Turbo or the New Balance FuelCell TC? It would just come down to personal preference, I think, whether you prefer the last on this shoe or this shoe. So that's my review, very long review on the TC. Excellent long run shoe, excellent shoe if you're wanting to pick up the pace a little bit on those longer runs. Do I see it as a race day shoe? Probably not. If I was doing a marathon, maybe. But I would say the 4% would always be kind of the go-to in that category. And really the price difference isn't enough for me to say this is a better race day shoe than the 4%. No, it just doesn't have the pop off the ground, and it's 3 ounces lighter than the 3 ounces heavier, sorry, than the 4%. Once the RC comes out, this may change everything. So that's my review for today. If you liked the video, hit that subscribe button down below, hit the like button, comment, share, whatever. And let me know what you think, if you've tried it before, and if you have any questions on it. The last thing I wanted to say is the grip. That was something I did want to say. I've worn this in the rain one time so far, and the rubber on the bottom was 100% better than the rubber on the 4%. When it rains, it turns into a skating rink with the 4%, and this was much better just because this outsole has a little bit of like ribbing to it, and to me that really helped grab the ground a little bit. Like I said, hope you enjoy the video, and if you want to hear more shoe reviews and stuff like that, is something that I obviously like talking about, as this video is now ridiculously long. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great rest of the day.